The name service switch file is straightforward and serves as a pointer to related databases. For example, what happens if you've configured an NIS, an LDAP, and a Microsoft Authentication Service, and also have local authentication files in the Shadow Password Suite? These are all valid authentication databases. Where does your system look first? That's configured in the etc/nsswitch.conf configuration file. If only a local password database is configured, that information is listed in the following directives in that file. The files directive points things to the local Shadow Password Suite. Of course, you can add more authentication databases in the order you choose. If there are other databases available, they should be added automatically with the correct syntax with a tool like the Authentication Configuration tool. But problems happen, and problems are part of what you see on the RHCE exam. For a list of available authentication methods, review the Authentication Configuration tool, which can be started with the system config authentication command. As you can see, you can configure the NIS service, also known as the Network Information Service, LDAP, which is the Lightweight Directory Authentication or Access Protocol, Hesiod, which is not mentioned in the Red Hat curriculum or exam prep guide, as well as the Winbind service, which can be pointed to a Microsoft authentication database. Let's click OK and see what happens back in the nsswitch.conf configuration file. Look at that. Before, these directives only pointed to local configuration files. Now they point to all these databases in this specific order. First, local files, followed by a NIS server, followed by an LDAP server, followed by an Hesiod database, followed finally by any Windows authentication database that might be available. Just remember, one of these options could conceivably be missing during your exam, or you could be told to set things up in a different order. Name service switching can also apply to other search areas, such as name service. Imagine that. Take a look at the following directive. Hosts goes to files. The original version of this directive had hosts files DNS, which means that a system which needs to translate a host name to an IP address first searches through the etc/host configuration file before searching through a DNS server. But the directive as shown here, since NIS is enabled, means that if your system is looking for an IP address, it first searches through etc hosts, then it searches through an NIS server, and finally, it sends its search to a DNS server.